I have been dreading this video because I have so many books that I want to unhaul. And some of these books I've been wanting to unhaul for over 6 months, even longer. But I've been putting it off to do one massive big unhaul video. This is it, by the way. And now I'm like, it's going to take me hours to film this and probably edit. The reason why I'm doing this unhaul is that in my reading life, I'm constantly unhauling books. Once I read a book, I judge whether or not I want to keep it. Most of the time, I end up unhauling the books that I have read. That is because I don't see myself rereading it in the future, or I have no sentimental value attached to it, and it's just a book that I have read and no longer have use for. And I am perfectly happy in doing that because it means I've supported the author. I no longer want to read it. I can then pass it on to someone who may not have been able to afford the book, spreading the joy of reading. There are other books in this pile where I'm just like, I have had these books for years and I no longer want to read them. And I don't want to keep books that I would have to force myself to read because I do have a massive TBR. You may have also noticed that the way that I organise my bookshelves have changed. Before, my books were arranged in rainbow and I absolutely loved it. But since I have rearranged it, so these two massive Billy bookcase shelves behind me contain my TBR. Me rearranging the bookshelf has led me to realise there are a lot more books that I don't want to read, and so that's why I have this massive pile. I think I have said everything that I've needed to say in general. I will go into reasons for specific books and specific series. As a final note, I do want to say that all of the things that I will be saying are my opinion and it's okay for me to have this opinion. If I end up unhauling a book that you consider your favourite book of all time, please do not consider it an insult from me to you. And just because I didn't like a book doesn't mean that I'm not happy that you liked it. So get some snacks, get your dinner, add some salt, have a cup of tea, because now is where the fun starts. I have 6 piles in front of me and I don't know where to start. I'm just going to start easy and then delve into the more controversial books. The first book I will be unhauling is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I didn't mind this book. I bought it mainly for its edition. If you can see the spine, it looks really cool, it looks really old. It's a great writer's library edition, and I think it's a reprint of like an older edition. I read the book, I want to say a year and a half ago. I considered unhauling it multiple times. I kept it multiple times. It's mainly because it's one of the books which is translated into so many different languages, and I am currently learning Korean and I know that there is a Korean version of this, so I would like to have a Korean version and this version. But I didn't really like the story, so why would I want to invest in getting another version of the story and having to reread it again in another language? It was an alright book. I have no hard feelings towards it, but I have no loving feelings towards it. I mean, it's a classic children's book about pirates going on an adventure, but I think it was just too old for my taste because I had to think when I was reading. But think in the sense of, what does this mean? What's happening? What's going on? Why is this important? As opposed to, ooh, what's happening next? I'm also going to get rid of the first 10 books in the K. Scarpetta series by Patricia Cornell. I'm gonna hold all 10 up now. Who needs to go to the gym, eh? I'm just gonna hold up book 1, but know that I'm unhauling all 10 of them. I like the series from the beginning. I have read the first 4 books twice. This is like contemporary thriller crime, told from the perspective of a chief medical examiner. Each book has a different crime and the medical examiner, K. Scarpetta, tries to solve the crimes. The first 4 books I gave 5 stars on my second read, but then as the series progressed, the story got worse to the point where I think book 7, Cause of Death, was the first book that I DNF'd in 2018. I did a whole video on that. If you'd like to go and see it for that specific book, more details on that series, please go and watch it. The story starts to go downhill. I no longer really cared about the characters. The crimes started to get boring because they weren't believable. And most of the time I unhaul thriller mysteries in general because they are only really good as one-time reads. The next books I'm going to be getting rid of is the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith, also known as J.K. Rowling. I read The Cuckoo's Calling. I did really like it, but I think I liked it because I was in education. The only recreation time I had was reading, so I spent a week reading this book during coursework season and I really enjoyed it. But I think that was because I was doing coursework. Thinking about it more and more and more, this story felt very much like a police report in the sense that Harbour and Strike just constantly kept on talking to people. It'd be like, talk to person A, talk to person B, talk to person C. This is what happened. Oh, this is who killed her. Oh. It tells the story of a crime without giving you the thriller or the mystery. It was also made into a BBC drama. I would recommend the drama over the book. It's a lot faster. It still drags, but it's a lot faster. I haven't read these two books. I was going to read it before the BBC drama aired, but then I was incredibly busy and I wanted to watch drama, so I watched drama. It sort of proved to me that I shouldn't read these books. The drama only had the first two books, so The Cuckoo's Calling and The Silkworm. And I think there's another 3 more books in the series, so there's 6 books as a whole. But, like, I don't find them that interesting. And I suppose if I wanted to continue on the story, I would just watch the drama. Especially seeing as these books just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm really not feeling JK Rowling anymore. And I think a lot of people agree with me with that. It's a good thing I only spent £5 getting the entire series. The next book that I'm getting rid of is The Casual Vacancy by JK Rowling. I've heard a lot of the same things about the Harbour and Strike series with The Casual Vacancy, in the sense that it's incredibly slow, not a lot happens, a lot of talking, and I don't think I'll enjoy it, so I am going to unhaul it. Luckily, I bought it from a charity shop. Hopefully someone will enjoy it. I am literally doing all the ones that aren't going to be controversial first. The next books that I'm going to be getting rid of are 3 Philippa Gregory books. I'm getting rid of The Other Boleyn Girl, The White Queen, and The White Princess. I just realised they're all different sizes as well. I am going to hold up The Other Boleyn Girl because that is the lightest book. I bought a bunch of Philippa Gregory books when I was studying my A-levels. That was because one of my A-levels was history and I was studying Tudor history. I thought that it'd be fun to study about the history and then read about the history to further gain my knowledge whether or not if it was accurate. I don't even know if what I said just made sense. I basically wanted to surround myself with everything to do with the Tudors. I ended up unhauling a lot of the books already, but I kept these 3 because I thought that I was going to really enjoy them. Especially seeing as The Other Boleyn Girl is a movie and The White Queen is a TV show. I have watched them both before in the past, but I don't really remember what happened. So I wanted to read these books and then go back and watch the media. But I still haven't read them, and I think it's time for me to accept the fact that I will never read them. But I can watch the show or the drama whenever I want. The next book I'm going to unhaul is The Social Creation of Mental Illness by Raymond Cochrane. I bought this for my dissertation and it was interesting-ish to read, but don't want that now. The next book is The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I didn't realise that this book was about zombies. Me and zombies have a bad relationship. I don't get on with zombies. I get really creeped out. There's something about zombies and like the zombie outbreak that just really like grates on me. It gives me shivers. It's just something that I don't like to think about. I think it's like the inner germaphobe in me and like the inner coward. So when I bought this book in a charity shop, I didn't realise that was what it was about. I did some research after the fact, got really creeped out. I no longer want to read it. There's nothing wrong with the book, it's just me not liking zombies. Although with that being said, I have managed to get to season 3 of The Walking Dead before I just like couldn't do it anymore. And I also have played the Telltale game The Walking Dead with Clementine, but only up until like episode 4 of season 1. So sometimes I can deal with zombies, but I can't force myself to do that with this book. Next book, We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver? I bought this book in a charity shop way before BookTube. Way before university and A-levels. I bought this in like GCSE times, if it was even GCSE times. I bought this book a good 7+ years ago. I bought this book because a friend at the time really loved the movie because it has Ezra Miller in it, and so I thought I'd pick up the book, go and watch the movie, go and enjoy Ezra Miller. But I've never picked up this book, I've never thought about picking up this book, so I think I should just unhaul it and watch the movie. The next book is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. This book may hurt a few people. It's starting to get into more controversial waters now. With Stargirl, I bought this book in a charity shop. I bought it because it is Books and Lala's favourite childhood book. I bought it, I read it, I like the message that the book sends, but I also didn't really like the story and the way things ended. I know that there's a spin-off, but I don't want to read the spin-off. And so this book was a disappointment for me. I think if I had read this book when I was a child or an early teen, then I would have perhaps enjoyed it a lot more. But reading this book when I was 19, 20, I didn't get from it what I wanted to. The next book is Kensuke's Kingdom by Michael Mapogo. I think I'm losing the ability to speak. I bought this book for 50 pence because I was going through a phase of wanting to reread books that I read when I was in year 6, so 11 years old. I wanted to see my opinion on the books 10 years after first reading them in primary school. I enjoyed this book. I gained a lot more from it now that I am 21 as opposed to when I was 11, but it's not a story that I want to keep nor reread, so I will be unhauling it. Next book is Matilda by Roald Dahl. The reason why I bought this book is because I wanted to see the story, the written story, behind one of my favourite childhood movies. I enjoyed this story, but I do think that the movie is a lot better. So that's why I don't want to keep it. But also, I don't see myself rereading this in the future. I can see myself rewatching the movie though. The next series of books that I will be unhauling is the Perfect series. I think that's what it's called. A Perfect Chemistry series. With Perfect Chemistry, Rules of Attraction, and Chain Reaction. I think these are all new adult books that I bought when I was like 15, 16. I never got around to reading them and I don't think I ever will. It's all stuff where like the bad boy gets together with either the good girl or the rich girl, and I don't think I can put myself through reading these books. This was before I discovered BookTube, and so I picked any book that literally sounded like it was made for young adults. I'd be really intrigued to see if any of you guys have read this series though. The next book I'll be getting rid of is Boy Meets Boy by David Levithan. I think it's in the back of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a Becky Albertalli book. She has a list of LGBT plus books, and this was one of the books on there. I ended up buying it, I read it. It was okay, but I didn't enjoy it. It was such a weird book, but it's good for representation. I just didn't enjoy the plot. But it was interesting to see an LGBT plus written from 2003. I just didn't enjoy it, sadly. The next book I will be unhauling is A Promise of Romance by Kyoko Akitsu. I did a whole vlog reading this book and you can see my reactions. I would recommend it because I get really frustrated at this book and I spend a lot of time editing that video. This is a yaoi slash boys love novel. I wanted to gain an insight into that genre. This book gave me an insight into why that genre has a bad reputation. I didn't enjoy it. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend using this book as toilet paper as opposed to reading it. The next series that I want to get rid of is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. I have read these books. I have DNF'd this book. I do not want to continue with this book. I was spoiled by the ending of this book because of The Fault in Our Stars. If you don't want to know about the spoiler of The Fault in Our Stars or Allegiant, click ahead until the next series or something. I saw a post on Tumblr and it was something on the lines of like, Tris, you look after Gus while I look after Caleb. And I was like, oh. I think that's how it goes because basically Tris dies in this series and then Gus dies in The Fault in Our Stars. The actors were the same in this film series and The Fault in Our Stars, and so that's why the post was created and it really annoyed me, and so it made me not want to finish this book. I did really enjoy Allegiant the most. I did really enjoy 4. I didn't mind Insurgent, but it's just the fact that I didn't really like the series. I don't think I'll ever reread them. If I do, it's very easily accessible. It's in like all the libraries, probably in the UK, and probably most charity shops as well. Also, my ex got me this book for Valentine's Day, so anything to get rid of things like that. The next thing I will be unhauling is the Penguin Yearbook of the class of 2018 and 2019. It was a fun book to get at Yelp. I did enjoy flicking through it, but it's essentially a series of like teasers and first chapters. Whilst it would look really nice displayed and on a bookshelf, it's taking up much needed book space. Next book, The Duff by Cody Kettlinger. Really enjoyed the movie, went and read the book. Completely different things. The movie is a lot better. This book has domestic violence from a parent that's not solved properly. It's like very brushed over, and I didn't enjoy that. But I really enjoyed reading the book. But I didn't think about how problematic it was until a lot after. So if you want to go and see my Goodreads review now, you'll see that it's like a 5-star book and a favourite. But really, it's a terrible book because of how it brushes over domestic violence. So go and watch the movie and don't read the book. Next books, Ink Heart and Ink Spell by Cornelia Funk. I got these books a few months after Twilight when I was 11 years old because I really wanted a series like Twilight to read. Have I read them? No. And I've owned these books for almost 11 years and I think it's time for me to accept the fact I will never read them. Emma from Emma Novella is going to really hate this, but the next books I'm going to be unhauling is the Did I Mention I Love You series by Estelle Marscombe. I read the first book, I didn't mind it. I read the second book and it has emotional cheating and I really don't like emotional cheating. I struggle to support it, so I ended up DNFing that book. I do have Dare to Fall by Estelle Marscombe and I hope to read it in the future, but I think this series is just not for me because of what happens in book 2. I haven't read book 3 and I think there's a book 4 and maybe a book 5 to this series. These books have a home that they'll be going to. Hopefully they'll be loved there. Next book I'm getting rid of is Don't Say Any More Darling by Yumi Yoshinga. This is an anthology of short story manga tales of male romances. I think 1 or 2 of the short stories were good. The rest were terrible and reasons why that genre has a bad reputation. And because it's in a manga format, the stories are already really underdeveloped, but because they're even short stories, it's like you get barely the surface level of what's happening. And let me tell you the plot of the story that I remember the most in this collection. So you have like a late teenage boy. His brother is an android maker. The teenage boy asks for a boy android to have bedtime fun with. The brother makes it for him and he has bedtime fun. The boy then asks for another android, bedtime fun, another android, bedtime fun, with all of the boys. And then the teenage boy ends up killing all these androids that he's asked for. I should mention the fact that he's in a house alone, isolated, because he has some sort of disease which stops him from being able to go outside. The brother is then really worried and goes and sees him. He's in like in a hazmat suit and everything. And then the boy ends up having bedtime fun with the brother. The boy then breaks and it's revealed that the boy is an android. He's not actually related to the brother, it was just the brother made an android like his first love and basically created an android which dies when it has sex with him. Those are the sorts of stories that are in this book. The next book is I Catch the Castle by Dodie Smith. I wanted to read this book when I was about 11 years old. It was in the school library. I picked it up but I didn't read it in the time that I needed to, so I put it back. Forgot about the book. I saw this book in a charity shop, bought it, picked it up. Have I read it yet? No. Will I ever read it? No. That's why it's going. The next book that I'll be getting rid of is a play called The Aquitaine Pals. I read it last year. For my dissertation, wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend you go see it either if you ever saw production being put on. The story's not that good. The production might be good though. The next book I'll be getting rid of is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I actually never studied this. I bought it myself. I read it for fun myself. It was an interesting read, but I don't think I'll reread it again, nor do I have use keeping a copy. And if I wanted to reread it in the future, it's very easily accessible, so I don't have to worry about that. The next book, Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorn. I read this book much like Kenzuki's Kingdom. It was a book that I read in primary school. The teacher read it out to us. I wanted to read it now, like 10 years later. I actually gained a lot more from it rereading it now because I realised the level of abuse Willie suffers from. I didn't get that when I was 11 years old. I didn't realise just like to the extent how he suffered. It was a decent story. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Also, as a historian, I realised books like this, being taught in primary schools, perpetuate the myth of like the Great Britain, you know, World War II sort of thing. So I sort of makes me want to enjoy this book less. I have another edition of Matilda I'm unhauling. I don't know why I have two in this pile. I don't even know I had to. The next book I'll be unhauling is Return of the Soldier by Rebecca West. This is actually quite, not necessarily an important book, but it's quite an interesting book because it was a book written during World War One, about World War One, and it was before any great writers really talked about the war. It's about a soldier who comes back from the war whilst the war is still going on, and he's injured. He no longer remembers his name, his family, everything. And so his family's trying to make him remember. He remembers. It then raises a question as to whether or not it was a good thing that a soldier remembers, because now he is inundated with the terrors of war. I think it's a good discussion point. It's a good study book. I studied it for my dissertation. As a story, I didn't really enjoy it. The next book, How Not to Write a Novel. I saw this book in the charity shop. I read parts of it. It was interesting. Hopefully I won't do this stuff in this book. But I don't see myself referring to that book, so I don't see the point in keeping it. Next book I'm getting rid of is Not If I Save You First by Ali Carter. This is a middle grade book that I enjoyed, but the reason why I don't want to keep it is because I don't see myself rereading it. It lacks depth. I do really enjoy Ali Carter's work, it's just this book was a bit too young for me and hence why I'm not keeping it. The next book I'm getting rid of is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I didn't really like the story. It's kind of sad because Nicola Yoon is the first author that I interacted with on social media. She liked one of my posts on Tumblr. But the fact of the matter is that I didn't really like the story. I really didn't like the ending. In the future I might watch the movie, but it's just a case of like, I didn't really like it. I didn't really like Maddie as a character. I thought that she was very reckless and selfish, and Ollie was a character that didn't have that much depth, and I thought that he was also very reckless. If like the whole going on holiday with Maddie when he thinks that she's got like a dangerous disease, and like, oh, thinking about it makes me angry. Next book I'm getting rid of is Abundance of Catherines by John Green. My best friend Emily, that you saw in the Becky Awatali vlog, she doesn't like a lot of John Green books and I trust her opinion. I've had this book for years. I don't see myself getting around to it. So I'm putting those reasons together and I am unhauling this book. On top of that, I have started this book before in the past. I didn't really enjoy it. It's just John Green books don't really seem to be the thing for me, although I am keeping two of his books. The next book I'm getting rid of is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book was overhyped for me. I really didn't enjoy Ren. One of my favourite characters, I forgot her name. One of my favourite characters, Regan, she disappears once Kath and Levi gets together, and I was like really annoyed with that. I really didn't like Levi. Why the hell were you gonna go kiss a girl when you really like Kath? Like, and you know how Kath is. Kath is like a really shy girl who doesn't like getting out of her comfort zone and liking someone. I think the book was overhyped for me. I do really love Carry On. The Carry On parts in this book don't do it justice. Then I do also realise that Carry On was written after Fangirl. I just thought that for a massive hyped up book that it is, that the story would be a lot better. And I also understand the fact that my university experiences are a lot different than Cass' university experiences because we are from different countries, and so I probably couldn't relate to it as much as American booktubers who read this book and went to college or university. Next book I'm getting rid of is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This book was overhyped for me. It was a letdown when I read it. I am intrigued to see what the sequel is about. I am tempted to buy the sequel, but I don't want to keep this book. I think it was just because it was so hyped up for me. It was just mazed me out like this great book that I'm going to love is the reason why I didn't like it in the end. Like, it was too good to be true. And to be honest now, I don't remember what happens much from this book. This is quite a sad book that I'm getting rid of, but it's And I Darken by Kirsten White. I'm sad because this was the first book-based read-along I did with Vendi. I really enjoyed that experience reading with Vendi. Like, it's a sentimental book for me in that sense. But I think it's just a case of I didn't mind the story. It was an average story for me, but I don't see myself continuing on with the series knowing that there's other series out there that's going to be better, like I'm going to enjoy more. But I think with just this story, it was okay. It was just simply okay. The next book that I want to get rid of is Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. I bought this book because Hayley in Bookland absolutely loved this book, and so I was really intrigued by the premise of it. I bought it, read it, and it was a lot different from what I was expecting it to be. It's like a humour story, but it's humour more like Shakespearean than like humour, ha ha ha. It makes fun of society and that's the main point of it, but the plot was nonsensical and I don't remember much of what happened other than the fact that there was a female-female romance in this book and I feel like it was unjustly done. It should have been better. And I think it was just a case of this book was overhyped and sold to me as something that it wasn't, so I didn't like it and enjoy it, nor do I want to keep it. The next books that I'm going to be getting rid of is My Life Next Door and The Boy Most Likely To, both by Huntley Fitzpatrick. These books are like joined together but not direct sequels. These books were like average contemporary romances. They were okay, but I don't see myself rereading the books. The next book I will be unhauling is I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. I did the whole 24-hour read along with this book if you want to go and see that. This book had so much potential and it was wasted potential. It has to do with K-dramas and K-dramas are my love. But the character Desi, just go and watch that 24-hour read along. You can see what happens with Desi, but it's so sad that the story took that turn, but I am really looking forward to reading Maureen Gu's other books and hoping that they don't turn out like this book. This book could have been a 5-star read and my all-time favourite book. But I'm unhauling it. That's how low it's fallen. The next book I'll be unhauling is The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. It is a really pretty book. It was really hyped up on BookTube. I read the book and it was really disappointing to me. I didn't really enjoy it. And I think the ending was the worst part because the boy chooses a girl, but the epilogue is told in a way where the girl seems like she's second choice and I don't like the way that ended. There's also a lot of loose ends that weren't tied and I really would have liked the characters to have known what happened. The next book that I want to unhaul is Orbiting Jupiter by Gary D. Schmidt. No, it's there, it's right there. This book was a really interesting read. It was like a Zoella pick and that's why it was so cheap, why I bought it. It does remind me a lot of A Monster Calls in the sense of like that childhood book. But I don't see myself rereading this book in the future and it's certainly a book that I wouldn't want my children to be reading because it's got a sad ending. So that's why I'm unhauling you, even though you're really pretty. The next book I will be unhauling is Beastly by Alex Flynn. I really liked the movie of this. You might have seen it with Alex Pettyfer and oh my god, I had a name. Vanessa Hudgens. I really liked that movie. I read this book. I really like this book. The problem now is that it's just taking up unnecessary bookshelf space. I don't see myself rereading it. If I want to re-experience the feelings of the story, I would just go and rewatch the movie. It's a lot faster than reading this entire book. And I do think that the movie is better than the book. The next book I will be unhauling is Mad Girl by Berenice Gordon. I bought this book in a charity shop because I thought that I would enjoy it. But the case now is that I have so many books, so many contemporary books, that I think I'll enjoy far more than this charity shop purchase. And I haven't heard good things about this book, so I thought it'd be a good idea to pass on it and create some bookshelf space. The next book I will be unhauling is Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz. I saw this in Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's tend to sell books for slightly cheaper than retail price. It did seem interesting, but I don't think I will read it. I think if it was a movie, I might watch it, but I'm not sure if it would become a movie. It's something that seemed interesting at the time, but actually knowing myself and my TBR, I would never pick it up. It was just like a impulse purchase that I ended up regretting. And the next book is Nomad by James Swallow. It's the exact same reason for Orphan X, is the reason why I'm unhauling this book. I got this in the charity shop, so it wasn't too much of a impulse purchase. I know the book has done well enough to have sequels, but it's just a regretful impulse purchase. The next book I will be unhauling is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I was really excited for this book. I bought it the day it came out. I went to 2 Waterstones to find this book. I read it and it was a disappointment. To be fair though, the disappointment comes from myself hyping up this book. I thought it would be a really great book, but it wasn't. One thing that really annoyed me about this book is there was a situation where the male love interest basically goes and steals a dog because he thinks that the owner is being neglectful towards the dog. I just didn't agree with it. I felt like if you as a person thought a dog was being mistreated, don't steal the dog. Don't try to correct a wrong by doing another wrong. Like, go and call some professionals, go and call the RSPCA, don't just go and steal a dog. And also, I didn't really see the appeal in the male love interest. He just seemed bland. I think it might have been a case of I've read so many books with so much like representation and really good plots that this book fell short. This book is a young adult contemporary romance which occurs in like a wedding planning company. It left things to be desired. The next book I will be unhauling is Lying About Last Summer by Sue Woolman. This was also a Zoella book club book. I bought it, it was interesting, but it left something to be desired. I don't see myself rereading this book because it is a young adult thriller / mystery and I now know the mystery. It's just a shame because I do really like the cover and I do think that the story had potential, although I don't like pink and blue like as a background because you can't see it that well. The next book I'll be unhauling is The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks. I went on a massive Nicholas Sparks binge buying and binge reading phase. I was like 15, 16. I watched Safe Haven the movie. I bought the book, read the book, loved the book, bought all his other books and read most of his other books. And I have slowly started to get rid of my Nicholas Sparks books because all of them just aren't as great as Safe Haven and there's so many good other romance stories out there. And I think with The Last Song, the movie is better than the book, and I do like how the movie brought together a real life couple now. And because I enjoyed the movie more, I am unhauling the book and hopefully someone will enjoy this book. But also because this book is a more sadder Nicholas Sparks book, I don't see myself rereading this. I just kept it because it was one of the stories that I liked most. But now I want to conserve bookshelf space. The next book I'll be getting rid of is Holes by Louis Saka. I bought this book because I really liked Holes the movie. I really liked it as a kid. Same thing like Matilda, I wanted to read the story of the movie that I really loved. I read the story of the book. It was okay. It was very much like the movie, but I do prefer the movie more. And so that's why I am getting rid of it. The next book I'll be unhauling is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I really loved this book when I first read it. I was a John Green fangirl. It was the reason why I bought so many of his books. But now that I'm older and now that I can think more about the story, I realise that, for one, the whole Anne Frank scene is really disrespectful and I really don't approve. Second thing is that I don't really like cancer stories anymore. Cancer is something that has affected my family a lot, and so I no longer enjoy reading about them. And I think it's a case of I won't reread this book. I don't think I will rewatch the movie, so I will be getting rid of this book. The next book is See How They Lie by Sue Woolman. Out of the two Sue Woolman books that I will be unhauling, the first book that I unhauled, Lying About Last Summer, is a lot better than this book. This book is a lot slower and it's set in America. It's about an American cult and a girl living in an American cult. It's just so much slower and I didn't enjoy it. There's no real sense of mystery. Lying About Last Summer had a mystery. This one was just sort of like, why is there a cult? I suppose if you're interested in cults and stuff, you might like this movie? You might like this book, but I wouldn't recommend it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm unhauling it. The next book I'm getting rid of is Paris for One and Other Short Stories by Jojo Moyes. I read this book on audiobook and I quite liked it, but I think it's just a case of I won't reread it. I think I liked Paris for One the most out of all the stories, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And that's why I'm unhauling it. I think me and Jojo Moyes just may never get along. The next book I'll be unhauling is Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. I think in general on BookTube, not a lot of people like this book because of the message it sends. It sends the whole message that if you find a boy can help fix your mental health problems, and that was the main reason why I had a problem with this book. I don't see myself rereading this book. Me and Finding Audrey just won't get along. The next book I'll be unhauling is If I Stay by Gail Fullman. I also unhauled Where She Went. I think for me it's the case of this story is just way too sad for me to want to relive it, and if I were to read it now as as in like if I were to forget everything that happened. I would probably enjoy it a lot less. If I wanted to re-experience the story, I can go and watch the movie. I actually haven't watched the movie because I know that it'll be incredibly sad. And me and sad books don't get along because I don't want to read them anymore. So that is why I'll be unhauling this book. The last book I'll be unhauling is Royce Rolls by Margaret Stoll. You may have heard this book about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, not sure when. When it came out, it was really pushed by the big booktubers. I was really intrigued, I bought it, I read it, and I was really disappointed. It was overhyped for me. I think the plot is not that good. It's not the strongest point. The characters aren't strong. It's mediocre and it's almost nonsensical in what happens. It doesn't make sense, the series of events that occur. It's very implausible. I really didn't like Bentley either, and I don't like, there is a twist in this book and I didn't like the twist. When I finished reading this book, I wasn't sure what story was trying to be conveyed. It's sad though because it is a really beautiful book. I love the front cover. The story is not that good. So guys, that was my massive big book unhaul. I think that was pretty big. I'm not sure how many books it is. I don't really want to count it because counting is not my strong suit. Have you read any of these books? Do you agree? Do you disagree with my opinions? You can try to convince me to keep any of these books. I probably won't, but you can try ahead anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of me, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye!